So the latest report from a group of scientists came out this week. Tell us what they concluded, what they recommend.
Well, the report came out and said that climate change is even more serious than we thought, and that the changes that we are making by pouring carbon pollution in the atmosphere are happening faster than we thought, and certain impacts like the loss of ice in Greenland and Antarctica, which leads to sea level rise, are happening faster than we expected. And if we don't act soon to reduce carbon pollution, then we are, going to see impacts for our children and grandchildren that are devastating.
And who are this group of scientists? What organization?
Well, there were two reports that came out. One was led by James Hansen, who used to run the NASA's climate program.
Right.
And that's an international group of leading experts. And they, that was like, I think, 16 scientists.
Uh-huh.
And representing people from all over the world. And that was a very sobering analysis in that it said that this target that everyone said we should aim for, stabilizing total warming at under 4 degrees Fahrenheit, that even that would ultimately lead to pretty serious consequences.
Well, and so have we reached the point, Joe, where we can just say that all scientists agree that climate change is a significant problem, man-made, and we ought to be doing something about it?
Well, I think it's very safe to say that 98% of climate scientists agree with that. The big report that came out this fall from the United Nations body of literally, 2,000 scientists from around the world basically said that we can be as confident that humans are changing the climate as we are that cigarettes cause cancer. And that kind of confidence is the same kind of confidence you need when your doctors all tell you, if you start, getting early stage emphysema and you're smoking a pack a day and they tell you to stop smoking, that's when you start to listen to them.
Well, the reports that I read about this latest warning from this group of scientists, they talked about some maybe extraordinary events that might occur if we continue down this path of climate change. Correct?
Oh, yes. There was a second report that came out from the National Research Council on abrupt climate change, and that may have been the one that you were talking about. And that basically warned that even though we're only slowly warming the planet, certain impacts can happen abruptly, and that's sometimes called nonlinear or a quantum jump. And we're starting to see that in the Arctic.
Things such as what?
Things such as the loss of ice in the Arctic, which has already been going much faster than we thought and has been linked to extreme weather in this country, and things like the loss of the ice sheets, which can lead to sea level rise.
Now you mentioned the carbon that we're pumping into the atmosphere. There's an interesting article, lead article in this morning's New York Times, Joe, which is related to this, of course. The headline is, "Large Companies Prepared to Pay Price on Carbon." And they're reporting, I think there's some 29 companies with close ties to Republicans, by the way, that include ExxonMobil, Walmart, and American Electric Power, that they recognize that they're going to soon start having to pay a carbon tax, which is something the Obama administration's been trying to push for the last 5 years. Is this something do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think this is an important report. It's from CDP, used to be the Carbon Disclosure Project, and I wrote a piece about 2 weeks ago on a very similar point, which is that major oil companies, in their own business practices, are already putting in what's sometimes called a shadow price, or an internal price for carbon pollution, which is exceedingly high, and high enough that if the nation as a whole had that carbon price, it would completely change, for instance, the kind of fuels that we use to generate electricity, and we would have much, much cleaner fuels. And the point of this story is that ExxonMobil, for instance, which everyone thinks of as this large oil company that funds disinformation campaign into climate change, has a very large price, $60 a ton of carbon dioxide, as its internal price when it's making its own long-term investment decisions inside the company.
Well, it seems to me then, if these companies and these utilities and oil companies, for example, are recognize they're going to have to pay this price, they are prepared to pay this price, they have made plans to pay this price, then what is still standing in the way of legislation for a carbon tax? I mean, Republicans who oppose it are no longer representing the forces and the industries that they claim they are. Then, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a perverse situation, which is that as you know, a small, pretty extremist group, the Tea Party, has disproportionate impact in Congress, with Republicans. And there are certainly some fossil fuel companies, and I think the article specifically talked about our old friends, the Koch brothers, that don't care about reality, and that have been spending, tens of millions of dollars supporting candidates and spreading disinformation aimed at blocking action. And that it continues to be the case that a minority can block an action that a majority thinks is a good idea.